case they want to present. I'll open up the meeting for any questions in the audience, and then to members of the board, and all questions will be addressed through the chair. Saying that, we're going to have our first 7 p.m. hearing. It's 516 Main Street, Kevin and Justin Sanborn. Are they here?
Yeah. Justine.
Justine.
Not Justine.
25 Vinnie Way, Shrewsbury, Mass. For a variance to the Town of Shrewsbury zoning bylaw, Section 7, Table 2, minimum side and rear yard requirements in a limited business district to allow the construction of a detached garage with one apartment above situated upon property located at 516 Main Street, within 8 feet of one side and 13.3 feet from the other side of property line, and 5.4 feet on the rear property line. The subject premise is described on the Shrewsbury Assessors Tax Plate 22 as Plot 132. Okay, go ahead.
Hi.
Just state your name for the record, please.
Yeah, I am Justine Sanborn. My husband couldn't be here tonight. This is our contractor, Paul Soda. I'm here to request a variance because we'd like to build a 3-car garage on the back of our property at 516 Main Street, and we do not have the 15 feet setback by code that is required.
Is that it? Okay, I'm going to ask you a question, which we usually ask everybody when they come for a variance, and is, I want to know what your hardship is.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you have to show some type of a hardship in order to
Explain why you want.
The reason?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The reason for the location of the garage is because we need to keep all the existing parking we have available for the salon, the existing business. The purpose of the salon?
No, I don't need
the
to-
purpose of the building? I have the purpose. The purpose of the building is to store our winter and summer equipment that we need to take care of the property. One bay is for the tenant, for the apartment upstairs, another while I'm at work there, and then the other for the equipment.
Okay, but I'm going to ask again.
Okay.
What is the hardship in order to build this building? I mean, why do you want to build a building this size and not be within the setbacks of the property? You have to show some type of a hardship.
Well, can I speak, or?
Go right ahead.
Well,
Just state
I
your name
think
for the record, please.
My name is Paul Soder. I'm going to be the contractor building the project. I think they're looking to get full use of the actual land where they want to put this structure. Because they're limited on parking that they have now, they don't want to take away from any of the parking spaces that they have now. So they're looking to grow, to expand their storage, because they have no room left in the building for storage of their winter snow blowers and equipment like that, plus storage for stuff for the salon. They have no more room left.
So couldn't you make it a little smaller and stay within the
Well,
setbacks?
I think that what their goal is, they're trying to achieve is a parking spot for the apartment above, so they don't lose any parking spaces within the actual existing parking lot, and to have 2 bays left over, one for their vehicle and one for storage, to store all their equipment and stuff and whatever they need.
Okay, any other board members have any questions?
Are you aware, excuse me, Mayor,
Go right ahead, Mel.
are you aware of any of the history on this land?
I don't know. I don't know what you...
Oh, well, what I'm referring to is Dr. Hirsch
Yeah?
was very strict on zoning for his neighbors. In fact, I think he ended up taking one neighbor to the Supreme Court, and he won. Okay? So, he showed that they misused the boundaries. And from what I hear now, as much as I'd like to give you something, I don't hear any reason to. I mean, you're renting the property upstairs to someone.
Oh, no, we're not renting that upstairs.
You said it's
No, the
for my
apartment that
apartment.
we're going to have above the garage.
Oh, so you're
We're
going to...
proposing an
Right,
apartment.
it's a 3-car with an apartment upstairs.
Oh.
The tenant is going to use one of those garages. So we're going to
Okay.
rent the apartment above the garage.
And what are you going to do above the salon?
It's part of the salon.
It's a two-story salon?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Why can't the garage abut the back of the house?
It'll
It'd
take
be-
away the parking, that's
Well,
the
well-
existing parking lot that's already there.
Well, yeah, but you could use the, where the proposed garage is, if that were parking, you could have spaces there.
Well, so we're not, what the owners are looking for is not to affect any of the existing space that's there now. Existing parking, any of the existing
Parking lot.
structures or anything on the
I
property.
understand
There's a
that.
grassed area that we're proposing the garage,
I understand.
and they're only looking to utilize that space as much as they can to get the proposed garage that they're looking for. That's all the land is not being used right now. It's just a grassy area
I understand.
at the end of the lot.
I understand. But I would very much like to give it to you, but I would like to see a hardship of some type. And I can't give you what that hardship should be. Now, there are two options. We can vote on it and grant you what you want. We can vote on it and not grant you what you want, and then you have to wait 2 more years to come back. Or you can ask to withdraw and maybe come back with a plan that shows us a hardship.
Okay.
Those, I think, Mr. Chairman, aren't those the,
Those are usually
yeah.
what we look for. Any other members of the board have any questions?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, similar to what the other members had said, I mean, quite frankly, it looks like you want a proposed garage at 46 by 28.
Yes.
If you made it smaller in dimensions, you would meet the minimum setbacks. For
Right.
example, if you reduced it to 39 by 21,
Yeah.
you would then, you would be,
Within
conformance.
the zone.
and that's just a number I threw out, just
Okay.
so.
That's the reason why we're asking if you want to withdraw and come
know,
back with
we can
another
pull it
plan,
withdraw.
or do you want to move forward and have us vote one way or the other, and then you won't be able to come back for another 2 years?
If we withdraw, what are our options after
Come
that?
back next month.
With a
another
hard- with
plan.
a hard-
Another
With another
plan.
garage plan?
With another plan that fits the zoning bylaw.
And sits
I mean, I can't imagine putting the garage attached to the house that's already there with an apartment.
Didn't say that.
Oh, I thought that's
Well,
what you
no,
said
no,
before,
no.
having it attached
No,
to the...
I did say that, but also where it is. If it complied with zoning, you have everything you need.
Right, you don't have to come back
You don't have to come back to us.
if you make it fit. See, that's, it needs to, right now, there's no compelling reason why we should give this variance because, the building that you have there, you could make it smaller and you could, with a decent-sized garage and meet the requirements. So, and to not meet the requirements, you need to prove a hardship. Why, what hardship are you suffering?
Yeah, the only hardship I can
Well-
think is we need the parking that's there for the business, so we don't want to put it
I
on
understand
top
that.
of the, that's the only
And they're
hardship I
looking for the
can...
storage space, really. I mean,
Okay,
that's-
before we
that's the
move
bottom
forward,
line.
I'm going to
Right.
just open up the questioning to the people in the audience and
Okay.
hear what they have to say. Gentleman in the back,
Yes,
state your name for the record, please.
yes, James Carboni. I own the building next door, 512 West Main Street. And the area they're talking about, which is, they say is grass, the building that they're talking about is going to come way out from that grassy area, and it's going to be taking some of those parking spaces that are in that lot. And I can tell you from being there a decade now, that I have such a serious parking problem in my building, that when Huntington Learning Center moved out, I never even re-rented that space, giving up $4,000 a month because I haven't got the parking. Because what happens is that when people go to the orthodontist on one side and they can't park, they pull into my lot. And what my fear is, having seen some of the days that her lot is totally filled as it is now, where are they going to go? They're going to come into my lot. And except for having a cop there in a tow truck, and I have tenants complaining all the time about the space issues. It's a chronic problem, and I'm going without rent because I haven't got a solution for it. The second issue I think is significant is that when Dr. Hirsch was there. We all know Dr. Hirsch may be doing well wherever he is these days, because one of those suits I inherited when I bought the building, having had to go to the Supreme Court in Boston by myself, and he had an entourage of people. They actually threw that one out, thank God. But he, as you know, he sued a lot of people, Mobile and Dunkin' Donuts and blah, blah, blah. And so one of the issues that he had, and is an issue that I have, is that depending on how far that building comes up, will it interfere with natural light coming into my employees? I have 25 employees in my company. The third issue is drainage. A lot of water was coming off of their property into my property, creating a serious problem. We built a berm, we dug down, we put in gravel, and so with that building that's going to be there, if it is going to be there, and the water comes running down, the only place it has to go, since there's going to be a building there, is on my property. So those are the issues that I have, and parking is one, and that's the most serious one. And I don't see how this building is going to be on the grassy area that's only about 7 or 8 feet. So I don't understand how a 3-car garage with an apartment up top is only going to take up that.
Thank you very much. Sir in the back?
My name is Arthur Bruni. I live at 505 Main Street, across the street and a couple of houses up from this property. I'm also a town meeting member for Precinct 1, which is that side of Main Street, as you know. I've not talked to a single neighbor who thinks that this is a good idea. First of all, it's huge. A 3-car garage plus storage on the end of it is just totally out of character with the neighborhood. Yeah, I also have a strenuous objection to an apartment on top of the garage, because I see this as beginning a trend. The doctor across the street from me can say, hey, I want to get maximum use of my property, I'm going to put an apartment above my garage. And then next to these people, there's another place, or there was another hair place, why not put a garage in there with an apartment? Change the whole character of the neighborhood. I understood that in a limited business district, you could have a business on the first floor and a living space attached. But I didn't realize that you could have one, or that there was a need for one, unattached. I don't think in this case the word hardship has come up, and as I look at what the powers of you ladies and gentlemen are, there clearly is not a hardship. They just want to expand the use of the property. This is a hair salon. I don't know how many people work there. I don't know how many cars they need to park at any one time, but I seriously question the need for that monstrosity of a garage. And also the change in the character of the neighborhood that's going to occur. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Ma'am?
My name is Samantha McDonald, Fletcher Tilden. I represent Sure Oil and Chemical. They abut the property, the Sanborn's property, to the back at 26 Maple Street. You all are obviously well aware, but for the Sanborn's benefit, the statutory standard for granting of a variance requires that there must be a unique characteristic of the lot that's related to the soil, the topography, or the shape of the lot. And we've heard no discussion of any of those 3 things. That characteristic has to be not shared by the district at large, which we've heard no conversation about that at either. As you pointed out, there's been no hardship stated other than a desire to build more, which we all understand the desire to maximize the use of our property, but there's no statutory right to do so. And lastly, as the last commenter said, that the final part of the statute is that the grant of the variance cannot derogate from the intent or purpose of the statute. The limited business district, the intent of the limited business district was, according to the bylaw, to provide consumer goods and services. Obviously, a residence doesn't fit within that. Even though it's an as-of-right use, it doesn't require a variance to have that as-of-right use. Further, it's been unclear whether or not the plan that's been proposed meets the required minimum 15% open space, or also falls within the maximum lot coverage. Haven't heard anything about that, so I would request that you not grant the variance at this point.
Any other questions? Any other board members' questions?
Nope.
So I'm going to ask the board, would the board be willing to have the petitioner rescind, withdraw, and come back with another plan, or do you want to move forward and vote on it?
I'd like to give, the petitioner obviously was unprepared, and that's no fault of hers. I would suggest that if it's, everyone feels it should be, let them withdraw, let them come back and see if they can do a better job.
I agree.
Lisa, how do you feel?
I agree with that.
Okay.
I have no problem if the petitioner wants to withdraw.
Peter?
I'll leave it to the choice of the petitioner.
And I'm going to leave it up to you.
Withdraw?
Well,
What do you think? We don't have a chance, so.
it's up to you. It's a really a decision.
I
just
guess
trying
I'm
to
gonna-
be-
Right, I know, I'll withdraw, because I probably already know the decision if you vote on it today.
And you're going to have to come back with something to show some type of hardship in order to do this project that you want to do.
Now, what if I discuss it with my husband and we choose not to pursue it? Can I close this?
Just forget about it, yeah.
Forget about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Can
I didn't
I-
know if I was held to come
No.
back
No.
if I withdraw.
No,
Go right ahead.
If we build it within the boundaries, within the variance, PBN...
that's
within the
between you
setback,
and the building inspector.
Right.
That has
Right.
nothing to do with this board.
No.
We can go ahead and get it...
As long as you
You
conform with
conform.
the zoning bylaw.
Okay. So they
But
could...
remember
they
the
could
thing,
apply.
remember the things that the attorney said, and
All the things
most
that
of
she
them,
stated.
most of them are true,
Yeah?
okay? So,
Okay. All right.
So if you
Lot
can,
coverage.
if you could come
I understand what
forward,
the attorney
if you
said.
could come forward
Yeah.
with all the parameters that were stated, then you're more than welcome to,
But I don't need to come in front of this board to get that approved.
as long as you're within the zoning
Then
bylaw.
those- Okay. All right.
okay.
The pleasure of the board.
As I make a motion, we allow them to withdraw. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Could you just give Jeff a note? I request to withdraw. Nothing very fancy. Today's date, your address, I request to,
And a signature.
and a signature. How am I doing? And
Date it?
Jenny, could we please have your card for the secretary? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to start our next 7 PM hearing to hear the appeal of Karen Johnson, CO Charter Realty Development Corporation, 800 Westchester
Sit
Ave,
here if you want.
Dale's.
Suite S672, Rybrook, New York, for a special permit to the Town of Shrewsbury zoning bylaw, Section 6, subsection
Don't do anything for
B2,
him.
in a commercial business district to modify the existing non-conforming parking, and Section 6, Table 1, to allow the outdoor food service at 2 separate lease spaces upon property located at 20 Boston Turnpike Road. Such a premise is described on the Shrewsbury Assessors Tax Plate 31 as Plot 86.
Good evening, my name is Karen Johnson. I submitted a letter earlier today to the building inspector. I'm not sure if you've received it, but I do have a copy. I do have a copy for everyone.
Is this it right here?
It's, yes. It is a
Six.
May 6th?
Just one in the file.
May
May
31st.
31st.
Oh, we don't
She's
have that.
passing it out.
It's just a correction to the application.
That's okay.
If you, you can,
Look over, Dale.
It's just a correction to the application, referring to the correct owner entity name, rather than
That was
White
in your
City
email.
Shopping Center, which was put on the application. It should be White City Partners LLC.
Do you have that, Jeff?
yes.
I just thought it might be easier if you just had a
Yep.
cheat sheet to follow along with.
Sure.
And in addition, I apologize, this is Gretchen Young from Appledore Engineering, Time Bond, who has done all of our site civil engineering. Do you know is the microphone picking me up?
Yes, it is.
It is, okay.
Yep, we can hear you.
Who's done all of our site
The
civil engineering?
microphone is for the people at home.
It is, I
Okay.
see. It's not to put, it's not to
No,
record,
no, you have to
it's
talk up to talk to us.
Okay.
And so that they can hear.
Okay. Let me just clean this a little bit, since you have copies of it. Good evening.
Good evening.
We are the new owners of White City Shopping Center, and as it sometimes is referred to as White City East, both sides of South Quinsigamon. We acquired the property in December of last year, which we've gotten a tremendous reception from everyone in the town of Shrewsbury so far, including customers. The existing center was owned by the same entity, same family for well over 50 years. So things have gotten a little bit tired over time, and so we're very excited about adding a little bit of new life to the center. Since we took title, actually about a month before, Bugaboo, which is located right here, filed for bankruptcy. We were under the assumption that they were going to do that based on our understanding of how well they were doing. Not necessarily in this location, but nationwide. So they filed for bankruptcy and made a decision to close the store. Shortly after we took title, Mattress Giant also decided to close the store. So within a very short period of time, we had 2 vacancies. Fortunately, we were able to fill those almost immediately. And so we do have a lease on the Bugaboo restaurant, the former
What's the
Bugaboo.
name of that? I heard them on Selectmen's meeting, but I forgot the name.
The name of the restaurant that you
restaurant.
might be familiar with is Jimmy's. They own approximately 9 restaurants. They've been in business for over 40 years. And they're mostly located in the northwest metro area. There's one in the town of Arlington where I live. There's other ones in Saugus. They've gone back and forth a little bit on the name. Originally, when the application for the alcohol permit was put into the Board of Selectmen, it was Jimmy's Ale House. I think this afternoon they may have decided to change that to Jimmy's Tavern and Grill. But in any event, it is more of a steakhouse, family-style restaurant, something that we think will do very well here. We had a tremendous response for occupying this restaurant. Frankly, a lot of chain restaurants, a lot of nationwide restaurants, but we thought going with more of a regional operator who really understands the New England market would be much more effective in terms of servicing the needs of the town of Shrewsbury and being a good long-term tenant. So two issues tonight that we are before you for are special permit for outdoor seating and then a special permit for a request to extend an existing non-conforming condition. And the existing non-conforming condition is related to parking. As you might expect, something that gets developed 50 years ago is not necessarily in conformance with all of your current zoning requirements. And over time, as uses change, new buildings added, zoning regulations, zoning bylaws are changed, it is currently a non-conforming condition. And what we did, knowing that going into this, is conducted a parking study, which was done Thanksgiving week. Fortunately, we had the property under contract at that period, even though we hadn't closed. So we had the ability to go in and do some early analysis of some of the parking demand in the shopping center. So we were able to do it Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, which really, as a grocery-anchored shopping center, is really a peak use. At that point in time, both the Bugaboo and the Mattress Giant were occupied. So we believe that even though there was one vacancy here and another vacancy, somewhere in here, I'm sorry, it's not shown on this plan, but there's another vacancy, right here where Kabloom was. Kabloom and these spaces were vacant. Really not, those uses not impacting the uses in this main parking field. And in your handout, you see that there's a copy of the parking study. And what we did is we broke up the center, the parking lot, into different zones. And so the zones that primarily would be servicing these uses really are underutilized, anywhere from 4 to 44%. But the parking right along the road is the most underutilized. What we are proposing with the conversion of a portion of the Mattress Giant, which is about 2,500 square feet, is to change the entryway so that it will come off the front and better utilize this front field, which is not utilized at all.
I got one question. Is that going to do anything to the bank?
No.
It won't do
No.
any?
No, the bank's uses and entrances are primarily over here. And you can see how they're in Zone 5. There are actually cars right along here, right along South Pacific.
Okay, and the entrance to the bank would be from the, okay.
And then the drive-through. So the back, which on this plan is identified as Zone 11, has no cars in it when this study was done, when this photo was taken, rather, and at differing periods of the day, there's 1.7 cars, which I'm sure they're probably just commuters meeting and coming and going, because there really is almost no use of this field in here. So
I have
by-
a question, I'm
Sure.
sorry. The study goes from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.,
Yes.
so from 6 to 11 p.m., there's no data?
We didn't study it from that time frame, but if you look at the other uses over here, the dental, the nail salon, and the bank, those
They
really are
close at-
peak day uses, exactly.
Mhm.
Not a peak evening use.
Okay.
6 o'clock would be kind of your peak, because it would be the transition point between the uses that are only open during the day and obviously the uses in the evening, more restaurant uses.
Have you taken into consideration that you're losing some of that field on Route 9?
We have. And, I mean, I can talk about that now if you'd like.
Whenever you want to.
I'm assuming what you're referring to is the bridge expansion and the
Yes.
taping.
Yes.
Also, one of the issues that we had an opportunity to analyze early, preliminary discussions with Mass Highway to have a better understanding of the full impact. At this point in time, we don't have any formal correspondences with respect to the taking, so we haven't finalized any plans related to that, but we have preliminarily taken a look at it, and we will lose these spaces in here, which are immediately adjacent to the Bugaboo.
Right where the Lakeway sign is?
Yes, the Lakeway sign is right back here. So these spaces here will be lost. What we have looked at, and again, nothing is final at this point because the initial right-of-way plan that we had was adjusted slightly. So we're losing less spaces than we originally anticipated. We thought we would be losing a significant portion of these spaces in here because of the taking line. That's been pulled back, so we won't be losing those spaces. However, we do have to look at, because of the widening and potentially different geometry coming into our site.
You mean,
with
is
the new
that driveway
lanes-
going to
The
close?
new lanes on the bridge. The driveway won't close, but we may relocate it, we may shift it up. And so we have, and we haven't, again, finalized it yet, it's not really something that we're prepared to show you, but we've anticipated that to answer your question more directly, we do believe that we will still have enough parking to satisfy the uses in this area, even with some sort of reconfiguration. We think that with a reconfiguration, we can regain some spaces back in here. There will be a loss of spaces, however, we're looking at opportunities to minimize that loss and to have a more safe access into the site and safer travel ways for internal circulation.
Have you or your tenant decided on the configuration of the building? The people that built it were from Kansas, if you may remember.
I don't
Although
remember,
we tried
but believe it or
We tried
not,
to convince them that it
yes,
should have been moved
I've heard
90 degrees.
I've heard every story. Let me show you on a larger plan. So this is the existing condition, and then this plan, which you have a handout in your packet. This plan shows how we are considering that this is an existing restaurant. The kitchen is where the kitchen is. The bathrooms are where the bathrooms are, and it's really not feasible to move things around. It's It's not that old, it's in good shape, and the tenant is planning on reusing the kitchen.
Okay.
So that leaves you with a lot of,
The facade?
mechanical uses, a lot of other uses in the rear that really just can't be changed in any manner that's economically feasible. However, what we have tried to do with the request for outdoor seating is to utilize an existing side entrance, which there is a door and a walkway that comes out. It is existing on the plan today, so there's a walkway here. Use that existing door and walkway and connect to a new outdoor patio, which does at least utilize lake views. And we have an application pending now before the Conservation Commission because this is within their regulatory setback. And as part of that, we're also proposing some select cutting of trees to enhance the vista so that you can actually see the lake that you're sitting next to. So that gives you a better sense of the outdoor seating for the Bugaboo and then for a proposed restaurant in the front, which we have, I'm just going to grab the Google.
Yeah, sure.
We don't have a signed lease as of yet, so it's not an official announcement. Oh, sorry. So we can't officially identify who is there. We have looked at a number of restaurant-type tenants that are expanding in this part of Massachusetts. And what we're proposing is to modify the existing facade, and this architectural style is similar to what we're proposing for the balance of the buildings in the center. We're starting with this building first because of almost 5,000 square feet of vacancy, so we're attracting new tenants. As I mentioned, access will be along the front.
Could you turn that a little, just for Mel and Lisa's sake, that they can, kind of looking at it sideways?
Oh, my side vision is getting terrific.
And so the outdoor seating is proposed, as you can see on your plan. And I just want to note also that the original plans that we submitted with the application showed a larger patio area. This is a refined plan, which is more indicative of what we propose to build. When we first laid out the plan, we just sort of threw the whole thing out as patio. But by this gets a number of outdoor tables that the tenant is seeking.
Would that be similar to the Papagenos?
We don't like the fencing that was used along the Papagenos, but in terms of the size, yes, it's similar. We're proposing to surround the patio with landscaping rather than high fencing and then directly abutting the
Will
parking.
alcohol be served outside?
Not for this restaurant,
Okay.
no. This user has currently applied and received a liquor license from the Board of Selectmen. If the outdoor patio is approved by the Conservation Commission, the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Planning Board, then they will seek to amend their liquor license to allow for outdoor seating.
Okay.
But again, in looking at the patio, the focus is really to try to buffer the patio between the parking area and the seating area with landscaping. So this is cut back a little bit from the original plans that were
So
submitted.
instead of like being out in the asphalt part of the parking lot, you could have some trees around you.
Well, I'll tell you, after the winter we've had and the fact that I think we just saw the sun last week for the first time in 6 months, it feels like, any chance you can spend our time outside is really, I think everyone just wants to
Because
get
I
outside.
remember
when it's
with the
nice.
selectmen, they were only at your major tenant there, of the two.
For liquor license, this
Yeah,
this
they were,
user does
no, for
not-
everything though, they were just looking for 11 o'clock, so they're more of a
Right.
family-type restaurant than a bar-type
Absolutely.
restaurant.
That's the focus. It's on food, it's not really a bar.
A number of years ago, I forget which one, but I think Panera was one of the ones that was involved. There was litigation about who makes sandwiches and who makes something else. Have you resolved that, or are we going to see that again?
No.
It was a private issue, so I really
It
don't.
was resolved.
Okay.
It was resolved. It was a use restriction related to Panera's lease and Qdoba opening the Thai place.
Oh, okay,
It was resolved.
okay.
You're very familiar with the property.
I drive by it 4 or 5 times a day. It's a very small town.
Yes, it is.
It'd be a very nice town.
It's a very nice small town, yes. And so, as you mentioned, Panera does also have outdoor seating.
Yes, they do, and it's-
Papagino's has outdoor seating.
people love it.
And I noticed that the place just empties out this time of year because everyone's sitting outside.
Yep.
In the wintertime, you can't get a seat in there, but now everyone's outside. So in terms of the special permit use, one of the standards that the board is supposed to consider is conditions that are detrimental to the public good. I didn't know how much you wanted to go into detail on that fact, considering that you had already approved 2 special permits within the Center for Outdoor Seating.
How many spaces are you short if you were applying today?
Well,
What kind of number of iterations of how many cars and what size
yep.
spaces over the years?
And if I could ask you to modify that answer before you get to that, your analysis includes all 24 zones of parking, correct?
That's correct.
And we're really only talking here about zones 1 through 11 as a practical matter.
I would probably refine it even more and say that we're looking at 8, 9, 10, and 11 in terms of, where people are
Right,
going to
of course,
park.
really,
Yes.
really only those,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
So that the total number of available or required spaces isn't particularly relevant unless it affects the zones we're talking about negatively.
Well, I think in the winter it does, because of the way the last landlord decided there should be snow storage.
Right, yeah.
Okay? So if you could have a better plan.
We already have a better plan, and I will tell you that I fought with the snowplow contractor every storm this year because the response was, well, that's how we did it last year. Leaving large piles in front of Panera at 11:30 in the morning is not acceptable. So we inherited the snowplow contract. We have a new plan for next year, and we will have clear parking spaces in the wintertime.
I just think that's good
Yeah.
for your customers.
Oh, it certainly is. It is. It seems to be a pretty basic concept, but one
And
that
Mount Shore will no longer exist?
we're working on that too. So we have lots of things that we're working on. It was a pretty challenging winter, but
It was just...
I haven't, I'll tell you that I haven't broken down required parking versus provided parking by zone.
It's almost impossible,
But-
isn't it? I mean,
Because, yeah, but I will tell you that if you take a closer look at the parking study, it does give you on the zones, and I think, again, the focus is 8, 9, 10, and 11 for these particular uses that we're discussing.
right, and
terms of-
8 has got an excess capacity. 9 has a significant excess capacity.
Correct.
10 is
Might be gone.
pretty small, and then 11, again, has excess capacity.
Right, right. And so the average utilization, true, 10, let's just throw that one out there, but the average utilization for 11, which is really the change of use from retail to restaurant, is what's triggering the need for the special permit for the expansion of the parking. And 11 really is on average at 4% utilization. And in that same general area, the most utilized is still only at 44%.
Where is that, next to the market?
It's, no, I'm just talking about.
Oh, you're just talking in this
main
area. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Just zone.
Which is restaurant
Okay.
use.
Zone 8.
Okay.
Which gets, somewhat of a
Okay.
spillover from the more intense strip uses. And some, busy utilization from the dentist based on, my daily weekly trips out there and just sort of observing conditions.
Just on hours of operation, there's that swing period, you say it's 6 PM, if that's the magic
Right,
benchmark,
right.
when day businesses leave and...
Right.
What would the proposed hours of operation be for the restaurants?
This restaurant is proposing to close at 11, and I don't have hours of operation on the
Will they be serving lunch?
proposed restaurant. Yes, lunch as well.
So there could be a peak parking need at noon.
There could be, yes. But again, remember that they have, with the change of the entry being off of this side of the building, the side that faces Route 9, that this is the parking that will be utilized for that use. And any spillover might be around the corner here.
Do you know in general how much larger this restaurant will be than Papagino's is currently?
In terms of square footage or number of seats?
Number of seats would be.
Let's see. Papagino's is about 95 seats and 3,000 square feet. And the proposed restaurant is, I believe, 82 seats and 2,500 square
So
feet.
somewhat similar, so
Smaller, yeah.
Zone 6 parking
They won't
for
have-
Papagino's, we could use that as an example.
Right.
For Zone 11. 25%.
Strange thing, though. At Papagino's, they all park in front.
In Zone 7 and 6, yeah.
And nobody
7
parks.
is 85% or
Nobody
82%.
parks on the side.
It's the layout of the parking lot.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Yeah, which goes back
In the
to,
entry, people are oriented
Yeah.
towards the
Sure.
door,
Towards
so
the
they'll
doors.
park
Yeah.
as close to the door
Yeah.
as they possibly
Yeah.
can. And so, if the door was on the other side for Papagino's and you walk
Right, I'd
through
park
the
there.
outdoor seating area, you would have more people parking here.
Yeah.
That's why we think changing the entry to this side, and there won't even be a side entry for the restaurant, just changing the entry to the front just utilizes that parking.
so you were going to tell us why this doesn't derogate from the intent of the bylaw? The
The parking?
parking?
When you have an existing non-conforming condition, particularly one that's sort of developed over a 50-year period, it's almost impossible for us to comply. It's not almost, it is impossible without us removing square footage, which I don't think you want us to do. We certainly won't do it because it will decrease the value of the property.
The manager would shoot us.
And I think, exactly. And the other issue that does get problematic when you write a bylaw is that you have to set a number to something, it's particularly when it comes to parking. And in my experience, no one's ever happy with the number. It's either too low or too high. And what you want to avoid, obviously, are huge spaces of parking that's not used. You can have a flat number like you have assigned to each individual use, but what you also have to take into consideration, and it's hard to write this into a bylaw, is different peak demands for parking. And so by doing a utilization study, particularly in a center like this, you're able to see different peaks in different areas. And we thought by doing it during Thanksgiving week, it's really going to be the worst case scenario. I think this is also a unique center in that you have clusters of uses with sufficient parking around those uses. And so you almost have an opportunity to have sharing of spaces with peak demand uses located in different parts of the center. And so overall, there are a few areas that are grossly underutilized. These areas here and this area right here, grossly underutilized, simply because of the distance to the doorways again. So the intent of a zoning bylaw with respect to parking is to make sure that you don't create a problem condition on this off-site, on the streets, of people trying to get in and out, that there aren't conflicts at the access points because they're coming in and they're stopping immediately because there's so much congestion within the center.
And there's no problem of that in this
We don't
shopping
have
center,
that
no.
situation here. I don't know that you've ever experienced that situation. What we're trying to do with looking at some future concept plans is to alleviate that even more if there is a problem here. This potentially is somewhat of a pinch point only because people come in so fast and then they're not really sure where to go. And so by directing people, having some internal wayfinding, having better signage as soon as you hit the entrance, having, believe it or not, a shorter cut so that people know exactly where to go in and then where to go, will help alleviate those concerns.
If I could suggest larger one-way signs in front of the strip, because people are always just sitting in Panera and someone's trying to kill you coming up the other way.
This is a very confusing stretch, and we are looking at with the opportunity to, we think, relocate this. I'm kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself, but we are, I just want you to understand, we are looking at other opportunities. We're here in front of you today just for these two because of immediate tenant needs. But we are looking at some overall site planning. We've already met with the town manager, with the planner and the engineer several times, and we'll continue to meet with them. We think it's helpful to have an open dialogue so that they understand what our future plans are, and we think it's helpful for you to understand that we've considered those in accommodating the needs of these two immediate tenants.
I'm going to ask if there's anyone in the audience that would like to ask any questions. Okay, no? Any board members have any other questions?
I'm fine.
I just have just one more clarification, if I could. On the proposed plan that in the attachment here, the enlarged section, with respect to the patio, you have it fenced in? Am I reading this correctly? Proposed plan, the enlarged Old Bugaboo Creek.
Yeah,
There's
the sitting here is going to be fenced.
Right.
Patio with fencing.
Maybe explain the fencing for me, and along with the decorative fencing along the...
There's, let me just back to that. There is an existing chain link fence that goes down.
The whole outside of the property.
Right. And so for this section here, we are proposing to remove that
Right.
and put in a more decorative fence. We haven't finalized the details of the patio materials yet, but there may be some issues associated with a liquor license where we would have to enclose that.
Okay.
So we just put that we would have some sort of
Do you have a dimension of the outside patio?
40 by 30.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any other comments?
Paul, I just have one.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Assuming that the special permit is granted, we need to identify in the because the special permit will go with the use, with the
Right.
tenant.
Right.
So we need to somehow, and I think Patty's had discussions, we need to identify, we can identify the lower one, obviously, yes, because you've already applied for the liquor license.
Right.
But the other one, how are we going to identify that in terms of writing the decision?
Well, I had emailed Michelle this morning, so do you want a tenant name?
Or conversely, if you have a plan that says that is building a tenant one,
Right.
that would be acceptable. If you have an internal map that has something, if you don't want to give up the name, which is fine, but if you have some way we can identify it in the decision, so that 3 years from now or 5 years from now,
Yeah.
when none of us are here anymore.
It is building B.
And if you've got a map, if an 8.5 by 11 or something that identifies it, that'd be easier. Because I could even do it for the lower one also.
Okay. Can I give it to you afterwards?
Sure.
Because we do have building identifiers, but for that building, we haven't broken down
Okay.
the unit numbers yet.
Okay.
So if that's something that we can sort of
Yeah,
fill
that's
in the
fine.
blanks on later to be more specific about the tenant, the space.
Correct.
That would be helpful. That would
That's
be
correct.
helpful. Yeah, I don't want to give you a number and then have it conflict with what we're using internally, because then it'll just
Yeah, that's fine.
So on our voting sheet, instead of it saying the former mattress giant building,
But for the voting sheet, that's fine, but for the decision, I want to put in something that's more identifiable so that Patty or a future building inspector
Has-
can identify exactly which one it is.
but for the voting sheet, we can keep it as.
That's correct. Yep.
We've been meaning to give Patty exactly that, which is tenant identifiers
Yep.
for each space.
Perfect.
Is that
Other
it?
questions? That's all I have.
You've answered mine, one way or the other. And I get a chance to ask them again at the planning board meeting.
That's correct,
So-
you do.
Okay, that will close the hearing, and we'll
Okay.
take it on an advisement and notify you of our decision.
Thank you.
Yep. We're going to take 7:15 hearing to hear the appeal of Matthew and Kathleen Evans, 20 Christine Street, Worcester, Mass. for a variance and special permit to the Town of Shrewsbury zoning bylaw, Section 7, Table 2. Minimum front yard requirement, Section 6, Table 1, for an in-law apartment in a residence B2 district to allow the construction of a new single-family dwelling with an in-law apartment upon property located at 13 Cedar Road within 17 feet from the front property line. The subject premise is described in the Shrewsbury Assessors Tax Plate 45 as Plot 211. Just state your name for the record and let us know what you'd like to do.
Sure. My name is Matthew Evans. As you said, I currently live in Worcester with my wife Kathleen, who's at home taking care of our 2-year-old right now. We're applying for a variance for the setbacks on the road and a special permit for an in-law apartment. Approximately 6 years ago, my father suffered a hemorrhagic stroke, and he was of the small 20% minority that survived. We've been very lucky in that sense, but it has left him slightly immobilized. He is using a walker, and as time progresses, he's trying getting into a wheelchair now. And my parents, who currently reside in Worcester, I'm trying to maintain their property as well as my property at the same time. So we're looking to relocate our entire family, both my wife and my daughter, and both my parents, into Shrewsbury. This is where my wife and I wanted to come to raise our daughter. She currently goes to daycare in Shrewsbury right now, so we wanted to, try and get in and stay here for a while. But to do that, it would also be for us to try and provide for my parents as well. So, which is kind of the crux of why we were doing both variance and the special permit. Because of my father's mobility issues, we're trying to do a single floor and provide them enough square footage so I'm not putting them, in the basement. It will be on the first level, the basement level, but, these are my parents, they raised me. I don't want them to feel like, we just threw them in the teenage basement in our house. So we're trying to provide them with ample square footage, which in turn made the first floor of the house a little bit larger. And then we'll be able to kind of stick around in Shrewsbury for as long as I can. I'm currently a graduate student at the University of Massachusetts in Worcester, getting my PhD, which, if things go well, on the 20th I will be granted, and I'm trying to get a postdoc at UMass as well. So I'm trying to build my family base as well as I can, which is why and when an opportunity come up to get 13 Cedar, which is a large property, a half acre, and it would kind of fit our plan. We jumped on, and in partnership with Rich Duhamel, which my builder, or hopefully my builder, I don't want to get ahead of myself, build a house that we can stay in for past the length of the mortgage. My kids can kick me downstairs.
I got a question for you. Do you own the property right now?
We do.
Okay. Do any board members have any questions?
Is the entire house coming down?
If you don't mind, any technical questions? It would be better for him to
Just
answer.
have him identify himself.
Yeah, my name's Rich Duhamel. I am a builder and a local builder, and working with Matt here and his wife to build a new home. I actually bought and sold the property to Matt as well.
Okay.
Little background. This house, it's an older home. Basically was, when I bought it, deemed to be cheaper to knock it down and do something else with it than to continue with its current use. It's located in a residential B2 zone. That zone does allow for a two-family. This lot, in fact, is big enough to put a two-family on within the current bylaw. It has the frontage, which exceeds the 125 for a two-family, and it's 20,000 plus square feet, greater than the square foot required for the two-family. The existing home on the lot is approximately just a little over 11 feet back from the road. The two adjacent homes are also similarly set with just somewhere between 11 and 12 feet. The proposed new home, again, we're proposing to push it back, but the hardship on this particular lot is the topography dropping off both to the left and to the rear. And what we've done is we've got a house design that fits very nicely into this property. However, the sewer line is also only 6.5 feet below the street level, so pushing the home back would cause us an inability in any way to likely use any gravity system. And also, the wetlands are in the rear. We would more closely encroach on the rear setback and also the wetlands, which are on town property, off of this particular property, but just off of it, maybe 10 or 15 feet.
How far are you from the wetlands in the back when you're proposing the house?
The proposed wetlands, we have a filing in with conservation right now in that particular wetland. Happy to show you the plan filed. But we basically,
90 feet.
we are
10
looking
feet less
at,
than 100.
Yeah.
from the home, something in the vicinity of
56?
56 feet to the rear boundary, okay?
Okay.
And again, the wetlands are perhaps another 15 feet beyond, so about 80 feet.
Okay. But under 100. so,
70
yeah.
70 to 80, right in that range, okay?
And the other question, the question I asked first, when you're tearing the house down, but are you tearing out the entire foundation? Or are you
That-
going to use the foundation?
That was the reason we're here, is we want it, we're going to exceed 50% and with the proposed plan, and we would need to tear the whole thing down in all likelihood. So I offer for your consideration a few more thoughts around there have been several other homes on the same street that have come before you, or prior boards in the not-so-distant past, but number 8, number 24, and number 30 have sought and received approval from the board for similar requests for the variance consideration.
I remember when the sewer line came down from Shannon Woods there,
Yes, it's
and
a
where
forced
you've
main on that.
got the hill, they went down forever. And you're only 6 feet?
Yeah, what happened is...
How did that happen?
There's if you look at the profile of the road from South Quinsigamon comes up.
Yeah.
It falls off on the other side. This particular house is the last house that does not have a forced main on that road. It's a gravity feed pretty much 13 and 14, the two houses opposite each other, I believe at Gravity, and they feed down to South Quincy. The other ones are forced mains that get fed up to the top of the hill, and then Gravity down. Okay.
I might have missed something. What size home are you proposing to build, and is it in the style?
It's a
Well,
ranch.
it's a
It's a ranch
ranch.
style, okay.
The first floor would be a 1,900 square foot on the plan. And that allows in the basement where there'll be a drive-in garage, so my parents will be able to have
see it all right?
interior parking, would be around 1,400 square feet for them in the
So
basement.
you won't see the apartment from the outside?
From the side, you'll see where the garage is.
Well, you won't see the apartment itself.
Oh,
as
no,
far as-
they'll have their own,
It's-
little setback to the
it's
patio
tucked.
and stuff.
It fits really nice, like I say, into that lot.
Okay, you're going to have a garage for yourself
Yes.
somewhere else?
That is up in the top,
Up on the-
and that was the other,
Okay.
So it'll look exactly like a ranch, and then they'll drive around and go into theirs. And,
so
Why didn't you consider a two-family home?
My question.
basically, it's a cost issue with regard to, they're going to have shared electric, heating, water, sewer, et cetera.
My wife is a special education teacher in Ashland, and unfortunately, despite getting a postdoc or getting my doctoral, we don't get paid very well when we first leave. So they're just our combined salaries and trying to maintain the property from the parents.
You understand, though, that an in-law apartment is only as good as long as there's an in-law in it and as long as you own it.
Yes.
Because we have a sunset that says, when you're gone, the in-law apartment's gone.
We do understand that, and it's something we considered for resale, but we don't plan on reselling very long. I was born and raised in Worcester and love this area and want to stay, so once I get settled down and I get a position at UMass, I'm hoping to stay here for a very long time.
Did you purchase this knowing you would have to get a variance in order to do this project, or did you not know it at first?
We knew that, and we also knew our backup plan would be to do a two-family. We were just hoping to do the more economical option first.
So the only compelling reason why you would not do a two-family is just affordability? There's no
Trying
real
to with
hard-
my
no
parents
other-
are-
There's no real hardship?
Well, it's also the space in the home, all the separate utilities and things would basically make this plan unfeasible as far, it would have to force a bigger home to get equivalent square footage. And,
But without a need for a variance?
yeah, I mean, again, basically, it's the topography and the,
So you
in the
can't-
wetlands
You
that-
can't fit the two-family in with the topography? Is that your hardship?
the two-family would probably be a substantially different style and different house.
I think just
and-
doing
and-
separate furnaces, separate water heaters, separate, all our utilities coming in would, in my opinion, wanting to provide as much square footage for my parents as I could, would inhibit, it would take a couple hundred square feet away from them, and then add to the cost as well, because the mechanical room is in the basement, so.
This house fits a lot better the character as well compared to, say, what he'd probably end up having to do with a two-family.
Neighborhood standards?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, wouldn't they also need a variance to put this size two-family on this?
Well, that was my question.
Yes.
The variance would.
Jeff,
if they're gonna-
yes?
If the intent is to demolish the existing house and construct a house of similar size as what is proposed, it wouldn't matter whether it's a two-family or a
Two-family or-
single-family. The variance is still going to be needed.
Because of the side yard setbacks.
In the
Front
front,
yard.
the
Front
front,
yard.
and the topography of the land, and the in-law is the special permit process.
That's
Yeah.
right. The variance is largely driven totally by the
Size and-
the lot and the configuration and the utilities and what makes sense to do with the house.
Right, if you don't get a variance, the in-law issue is not doesn't even come up.
Without the variance, there's no house.
Right.
And we could consider that the sewer extension permit is a hardship going from Gravity to Forest Main.
The case of it being 6 feet down is
Yeah.
correct.
And trying to keep those, manage the water off this lot and stuff like that. If we push the house back, the water's gonna have to stay on, go back rather than, come some of it, now we can spread out across everything and,
Did you speak to any of your abutters?
I have not, well, I have spoken with one. When I was at the lot, she approached me.
She just- yeah,
Yeah,
that's
she
the only-
she
that's
just wanted
the
to meet
only
me.
thing,
That was
yeah.
the, and I kind of described what she did, and, or what we're hoping to do. She just requested a specific set of bushes stay up for privacy, but that was her only concern.
Any other questions?
I'm all set.
No one in the audience? We'll take it under advisement and notify you of our decision.
okay.
I appreciate your time, thank you.
Okay, the first one was withdrawn.
Withdrawn.
White City. Non-conforming parking?
I have
Question?
no
No problem.
problem.
That's not an issue with me.
No.
I think we'll have a much more pleasant time with Karen than we did with Barry.
Outdoor
Shame on me.
food service for Jimmy's Ale House?
Fine.
That's fine.
And, is it building letter
Building
B?
2, B, available lot 2?
Or the former mattress
Former
giant?
mattress discounters. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to start with special permit for non-conforming use. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Outdoor food service for Jimmy's Ale House.
Great
All in
idea.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And mattress giant, former mattress giant space, outdoor food service, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed.
No opposed.
Paul, I have one question.
Go ahead.
Which of the 5 that voted for it?
Mel,
Lee?
Fred,
Okay,
Theo.
all right, just
me.
want to make sure.
The only one that Lisa would have voted on
Ooh,
was
that'll be the first one, okay.
Okay.
Doesn't count.
Okay.
3 signatures required.
You can do what I do. Go in the drawer.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I just pass this down.
That'd be easier,
That'd probably be a good thing.
under the Dale signature.
That's right.
There it is.
No, she knows.
Choke that one.
First day with the new hands.
Oh, look at that.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Pleasure.
All three special permits for Charter Realty and Development Corporation have been approved unanimously. Okay, any debate on 13 Cedar Road?
There's been a lot of activity of the same type in that neighborhood for the last 5 years.
It's an improvement.
It's an improvement.
And it's actually less non-conforming.
Yep.
Yep, that's all true. The only thing that threw me for a loop was just a two-family, whether it could conform.
Yep.
If it can't, without having to require a variance, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
If you
So-
could fit it in without a variance, I don't know how I could approve. So, right?
So you would rather see the single-family instead of the two-family?
No, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, it's not a affordability issue. It sounds like you can't put a two-family in there with the similar square footage without a
Right,
variance.
right.
So I'm okay with it.
Either way has to have a variance. So.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's on the variance side of the equation. Now, the special permit is your next question?
Yep. For the in-law apartment.
In-law apartment, right?
That I don't have any problem with.
Yeah, with the usual sunset
Sunset
provisions.
provision. Okay, we're going to put to a vote. All in favor of the 13 Cedar Road special permit and variance? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Hang on a second.
We do need to talk about June's meeting,
Okay.
Thanks, Deb.
when you're ready.
I'm going to try to imitate that signature.
It's not that hard.
They figured it's impossible.
So, I just don't wish all of this was electronic too.
Actually, it is fairly difficult.
I can zoom.
Yeah.
I don't need these.
How many am I signing?
Just two. Flying to Vancouver tomorrow?
What's in Vancouver?
Bruins.
The Bruins.
Must be the only guy in the state that doesn't realize it.
What's in Vancouver? Whale watch.
The petition for Matthew and Kathleen Evans, 13 Cedar Road, has been approved unanimously. And that concludes our hearing.
We got to talk about the agenda.
Oh,
I mean, not the agenda, the
Communication.
June meeting. Currently, there's only one submittal, and Patty has not talked to anybody other than that one particular person. And she's, unless something else comes in or a couple other things comes in, I don't see reason why we need to
Have a
have a hearing in June.
I think isn't our minimum 3?
What's that?
Isn't our minimum 3?
That's what we've been going with.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Do we have enough time? That's the
Yes,
only thing.
Yes, yes, Patty checked, and it was just filed last week, so the 65 days, we can have a meeting in July.
Now, what night are we going to be meeting?
Well, that's the next question. And this is where you're going to have to fill in, Kristen. Because then if that's the case, if we do not have a June meeting, this is my last meeting. And then Kristen will be taking over from this day forward.
Kristen Wilson, Town Planner.
Yes.
Kristen Wilson, Town Planner. Michelle, Patty, Jeff, and I have had discussions with Ron, Rosen, and it was suggested that we stick with Tuesday nights because the selectmen are just trying out Tuesday nights for the next 6 months. And then if they continue to go with Tuesday nights for 2012, we should consider Monday, which would work fine for me.
Will we be able to get a room on Tuesdays?
Yes, it was my understanding that July.
The
The July
No.
meeting is the only conflict where we wouldn't have a room.
Well, will we have the other room?
No, we wouldn't have any, so we might have to change that to Monday.
Okay.
Right, so Monday, the 25th, or the 27th, Wednesday or Thursday, 27th to 28th, there's rooms available.
Okay, I have no problems with any of those.
I don't know.
That's
I have no
July.
life.
That's July.
That's July.
That's correct.
I would like to move, unless we have more than one hearing for July, that we postpone
June's.
June's,
Meeting
June
date.
until July. Anybody else agree?
I agree.
I'm fine with
Second.
that.
And then, is everyone available the 25th? 'Cause you're available.
As far as I know.
25th of June or
July. July.
Now, you got me all confused now.
No, we pushed
I'm
You
an
already
old man.
postponed June's.
I am an old man.
July 25th or 26th?
I have a clean white page. I'm not one of those people
Mine's
with
not
the
clean,
little
but
book.
not
Okay. I didn't think it would ever be.
So
Do you have
25th
any
is
night
fine of
here?
July.
Not doing something?
No.
I think so.
July 25th. Oh,
And then we
good.
just need to change the filing date ahead of time to get it to change it.
Anything else, Jeff?
That's all I have.
You're going to confirm that date? Or is that, are we doing it now?
Okay.
July 25th.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
An online universal gift registry for their wedding. For all you pregnant ladies out there, MyRegistry.com is also perfect for your baby shower registry. Create your registry today. MyRegistry.com. All stores, one registry.
I got the gold with this prescription.
We got the gold with mouthwash. Go gold with your Wellness Plus card and you'll get 20% off your entire Rite Aid store for a year. Every purchase gets you closer. Every prescription gets you closer, faster. No other pharmacy gives you more value.
We saved almost $100 since we turned gold.
So how are you going to get to gold? Enroll in Wellness Plus, free today, in-store or at RiteAid.com. That's the value of wellness. Certain limitations apply. Government-funded prescriptions and prescriptions dispensed in New York and New Jersey and certain non-prescription items are not eligible. See your local Rite Aid for details.
Worcester, slow down and love someone tonight.